Welcome back to Creator Age. Ever feel like you're just stuck grinding away, putting in all these hours, but not really seeing the results you want?
Yeah.
What if I told you there's a better way, a smarter way to achieve more
Mm-hmm.
in less time by working smarter, not harder?
I like that.
Today, we're going to dive deep into this fascinating idea of a 4-hour workday,
Oh, okay.
especially for creators.
It is interesting how we've just come to accept this like standard 8-hour workday as just the norm, you know? But when it comes to creative work, sometimes these like shorter bursts of really intense focus
Yeah.
can actually be way more effective.
Absolutely. And, I've been experimenting with this myself.
Yeah.
And it's been amazing to see how much more I can actually get done when I kind of condense my work into these
All right.
really focused 4-hour blocks. It's like unlocking this whole new level of
Mhm.
productivity and creativity.
The key is understanding that our minds really aren't designed for this like constant prolonged work, right? We need those periods of rest and recharge
Totally.
to really operate at peak performance. Think of your mind like a muscle.
Okay.
It needs exercise, but it also needs recovery.
So instead of trying to force ourselves to just work for like 8 hours straight,
Yeah.
we need to be more strategic
Yeah,
about how we allocate our energy and focus.
exactly.
So how do we actually put this into practice?
So one really important principle is recognizing that there's a difference between like the building phases of work
Oh,
and the maintenance phases of work.
yeah.
Building requires that deep focus, that creative energy.
Yeah.
That's when you're generating the new ideas, the writing, the designing, the problem solving.
Right.
Maintenance, though, involves those tasks that are more routine
Got it.
and less demanding of your mental resources, so to speak.
So things like answering emails or scheduling social media posts, organizing files would
Exactly.
fall into that maintenance.
Exactly. And the key is to schedule these different types of work strategically. So block out that time for your most demanding building tasks
Mhm.
when you're at your peak mental energy.
Yeah.
That might be first thing in the morning for some people
Right.
or late at night for others, whatever works for you, right?
Right.
And then you schedule your maintenance tasks for those times when your energy levels are naturally lower.
That makes a lot of sense. It's like working with our natural rhythms instead of against them.
Exactly.
But what about those times when you just feel completely drained?
Mm-hmm.
Like your creative well has just run dry.
Well, that's where this concept of like psychic entropy comes in.
Okay.
It's like this natural tendency for our minds to kind of drift towards disorder and distraction. Think of it like a garden, right? If you
Yeah.
don't actively tend to,
Yeah.
weeds will start to grow and just choke out your plants.
So our minds are like gardens.
Yeah, kind of.
And distractions are like weeds.
Yeah, you can think of it that way.
I like that. So how do we prevent those weeds from taking over?
So two major indicators that you're succumbing to this psychic entropy are boredom
Okay.
and anxiety.
Got it.
Boredom leads to that restlessness,
Yeah.
that desire to escape the task at hand.
Yeah, yeah.
Anxiety, on the other hand, can make you doubt your abilities and you get stuck in these negative thought loops.
Oh, I can definitely relate to that.
Yeah.
Sometimes when I'm working on a challenging project, I start to feel anxious, overwhelmed, and it's just so easy to get sidetracked by distractions.
Right.
It's like my brain is looking for any excuse to avoid the discomfort.
Exactly. And the antidote to both boredom and anxiety is clarity.
Yeah.
When you have a clear vision for your work,
Mm-hmm.
a challenging project that actually excites you,
Yeah.
and the skills to match, work becomes like a game,
Okay.
a quest that you're actually eager to embark on. You enter this state of flow
I like that.
where you're fully immersed in the task and time just seems to fly by.
That flow state is something I've experienced a few times, and it's truly magical.
Yeah.
Everything just clicks,
Right.
and you feel so productive and creative. But how do we cultivate that clarity
Right.
and enter that flow state more consistently?
That's the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
It starts with understanding the power of intentionality.
Okay.
We need to be deliberate about how we structure our work
Mm-hmm.
and our environment
Yeah.
to minimize distractions and really maximize our focus.
Okay, so we're talking about creating this productivity system that supports this whole 4-hour workday philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
Where do we even begin?
So the first step is to define your identity as a creator.
Yeah, okay.
What problems are you actually passionate about solving?
Hmm.
What unique perspective do you bring to the table? What impact do you want to have on the world?
I think that's a really important point.
Yeah.
So many creators struggle with, like, defining themselves and their purpose, right?
Yeah, for sure.
It's about digging deep and understanding what truly drives you. Once you have that clarity, then choosing projects and setting goals becomes so much easier.
Absolutely. And once you have that clear vision, the next step is to choose a tangible project that aligns with those goals. Action beats endless planning every single time. Don't get bogged down in overthinking or trying to create the perfect plan,
Right.
Just start building something, even if it's imperfect.
I love that. This approach really emphasizes action and momentum.
Yes.
It's about getting out of our heads and into the real world where we can actually start creating and making progress.
Exactly. And once you have that project in motion, the next essential element is deadlines. Deadlines provide this sense of urgency and accountability. They really push us to focus and get things done. They're especially helpful for those of us who tend to procrastinate a bit.
Yeah, so deadlines are kind of like these friendly nudges that keep us on track.
Exactly.
And prevent us from getting lost in just this endless sea of possibilities.
Yeah, exactly. And to make them even more effective, try making those deadlines public. Share them with your audience, your colleagues, even just a friend. It adds this layer of like social pressure, which can be a surprisingly powerful motivator.
That's a great strategy. I've definitely found that I'm much more likely to follow through on commitments when I know other people are aware of them and expecting me to deliver. It's like having this built-in accountability system.
It is. It's all about leveraging our natural tendencies to our advantage, right? We're social creatures. We care about what other people think of us. And by harnessing that social pressure, we can actually boost our productivity and achieve our goals faster.
Okay, so we've got our identity defined, our project chosen, our deadlines are set. What's next in our 4-hour workday blueprint?
Now it's time to master the art of time blocking and breaks. This is where we really start to train that focus muscle and optimize that mental energy.
Time blocking is something I've been hearing a lot about lately.
How do we actually incorporate it into our workday, especially if we're aiming for like a 4-hour workday?
The key is to create this rhythm of flow that alternates between those intense periods of focused work and intentional breaks. It's like interval training for your mind.
So instead of trying to maintain a steady level of focus for hours on end, we're working in shorter, more intense bursts, followed by periods of rest and recovery.
Exactly. And this approach is not only more effective for maintaining focus, but it's also more sustainable in the long run. When we push ourselves too hard for too long, we risk burnout and exhaustion. But by incorporating regular breaks, we give our minds and our bodies that chance to recharge and come back even stronger.
That makes perfect sense. It's about working smarter, not harder. So how long should these work blocks and breaks be? Is there like an ideal formula?
There's no like one-size-fits-all answer. It really depends on your individual preferences and the nature of the work itself. But a good starting point is the Pomodoro technique.
Which involves working in those 25-minute intervals followed by a 5-minute break. And then after 4 Pomodoros, you take a longer break of like 20 to 30 minutes.
That sounds like a pretty manageable system. Even if you can only fit in a couple of Pomodoro cycles in a day, you're still dedicating that focused time to your most important work.
Exactly. And it's important to note that those breaks are just as crucial as the work periods. They're not a sign of weakness or laziness. They're an essential part of the process. Use them to recharge, to refocus, and to come back to your work with renewed energy and clarity.
You mentioned active rest earlier. Can you elaborate on what that looks like and why it's so important?
Active rest is all about engaging in activities that allow your mind to wander and decompress while still keeping your body moving. Instead of just passively scrolling through social media or watching TV, try going for a walk in nature, listening to some music, meditating, or even doing some light stretching.
I love that idea. It's about finding ways to nourish both our minds and bodies during those breaks, rather than just zoning out in front of a screen. It's about being intentional with our rest, just as we are with our work.
Precisely. And often those moments of active rest are when our most creative breakthroughs occur. When we step away from a problem and allow our subconscious minds to kind of work in the background, we often return with fresh perspectives and innovative solutions.
That's so true. I've often found that my best ideas come to me when I'm not actively working on a project. It's like giving our minds the space they need to breathe and make those unexpected connections.
Exactly. Those moments of disconnection are just as important as the moments of deep focus. It's all about finding that balance, that rhythm that allows us to operate at our best without sacrificing our well-being.
Okay, so we've covered defining our identity, choosing a project, setting deadlines, and mastering time blocking and breaks. What other essential elements do we need to incorporate into our 4-hour workday system?
The next principle is all about leverage.
Okay.
It's about focusing on those 2 to 3 tasks that truly move the needle in your work,
Right.
rather than getting bogged down in busy work.
I think that's a huge challenge for many creators, myself included.
Yeah.
We tend to wear so many hats and juggle so many different responsibilities that it's easy to lose sight of what's truly important.
Right.
How do we identify those high-leverage tasks and prioritize them effectively?
It starts with taking a step back and looking at the big picture.
Okay.
What are your long-term goals? What activities have the biggest impact on actually achieving those goals?
Right.
Once you have that clarity, you can start to ruthlessly eliminate or delegate those tasks that don't align with your priorities.
That's powerful advice. It's about being strategic with our time and energy, focusing on the activities that truly matter and letting go of the rest. It's about building a business and a lifestyle that supports a 4-hour workday, rather than getting trapped in this cycle of constant hustle.
Exactly. And speaking of building a business, the next essential element is developing a consistent routine.
Okay.
This is where we start to bridge the gap between optimizing our individual productivity and creating a lifestyle that supports our creative goals.
Routine is something I've always struggled with.
Yeah.
Especially as like a creative person who thrives on spontaneity.
Right.
How do we find that balance between structure and flexibility?
The key is to find a routine that works for you. One that feels natural and supportive rather than restrictive. Experiment with different schedules and habits until you find a rhythm that allows you to consistently show up for your work while still honoring your need for creativity and freedom.
So it's not about following a rigid schedule, but rather about creating a framework that provides structure and support.
Exactly.
While still allowing room for spontaneity and inspiration.
Exactly. And those initial feelings of discomfort or resistance to routine will gradually transform into ease and flow as you establish those positive habits.
Okay.
It's like building a muscle. It takes time and consistency.
Right.
But the results are well worth the effort.
This is making so much sense. It's about creating a lifestyle that supports our creative goals and allows us to thrive both personally and professionally. What other elements are crucial for building this 4-hour workday system?
The final element, and perhaps the most important of all, is rest.
Okay.
It's something that's often overlooked in our culture of constant hustle.
Right.
But it's absolutely essential for maintaining peak performance and preventing burnout.
I know I'm definitely guilty of glorifying busyness and neglecting rest, but I'm starting to realize that it's not a luxury. It's a necessity. How do we shift our mindset and embrace rest as a crucial part of our creative process?
It starts with recognizing that rest is not the absence of work.
Okay.
It's an essential component of it. When we allow ourselves to truly rest and recharge, we return to our work with renewed energy, focus, and creativity.
So it's about viewing rest as an investment in our productivity and well-being.
Exactly.
Rather than as like a guilty pleasure or a sign of weakness.
Exactly. And it's important to find forms of rest that truly rejuvenate you.
Okay.
This might involve spending time in nature, engaging in creative hobbies, connecting with loved ones, or simply allowing yourself to unplug and do nothing.
I love that. It's about giving ourselves permission to prioritize our well-being and create a lifestyle that supports our long-term success, both creatively and personally. This whole conversation has been incredibly insightful. I'm feeling really inspired to revamp my entire approach to work and life.
That's wonderful to hear. Remember, it's a journey, not a destination. It's about finding what works best for you, experimenting with different strategies, and continuously refining your approach.
Before we move on to part 3, where we'll explore specific strategies for building a business that supports this 4-hour workday philosophy, is there anything else you'd like to add about these essential elements?
Well, there's definitely more we can unpack when it comes to those essential elements.
Yeah, because it's one thing to optimize our own like individual productivity, but it's another level entirely to create a business that aligns with this lifestyle.
Totally.
Where do we even begin with that?
So I think the first step is to really shift our mindset away from this idea of trading time for money.
Okay.
To actually leveraging our skills and creativity to create value that scales.
Yeah.
The internet has opened up so many possibilities for creators
Right.
to build businesses that generate income without requiring that constant hustle.
I love that idea, creating a business that works for us
Yes.
rather than the other way around.
Yes, exactly.
But how do we practically make that shift?
One powerful approach is to focus on building assets rather than just offering services.
Got it.
Think about creating products, courses, or content that can generate these passive income streams. This frees up your time, and it allows you to really focus on that creative work that you love.
That makes a lot of sense.
Basic.
It's about building systems that work for us.
Yes.
Even when we're not actively working.
Exactly.
What are some specific examples of assets that creators can build?
Oh, the possibilities are endless.
Right.
You could create online courses, sharing your expertise, write ebooks or digital guides, develop templates or tools that solve specific problems, or even build a membership community where you offer exclusive content and support.
Those are all fantastic ideas.
Yeah.
It's about finding those creative ways to package our knowledge and skills into products or services that can reach a wider audience. What about the role of social media in building a creator business?
Oh, social media is an incredibly powerful tool for connecting with your audience, building a brand, and driving traffic to your offers.
Right.
By consistently sharing valuable content and engaging with your followers, you can build a loyal community that really supports your work.
It's all about building those genuine connections.
Yeah, sure.
And providing value up front.
Yes.
People can spot inauthenticity from a mile away.
Oh, yeah.
So it's crucial to be genuine, passionate about what you're sharing.
Absolutely. Authenticity is key. And remember, social media is a long game.
Right.
It takes time to build that following and establish yourself as an authority.
Right.
Be patient, be consistent, and focus on providing value.
That's such an important reminder. We live in a world of instant gratification.
Right.
But building a sustainable business takes time and dedication.
It's a marathon, not a sprint. And the beauty of it is that as you build your audience and refine your offerings, you're creating a business that becomes more and more aligned with your ideal 4-hour workday.
I love that vision.
Yeah.
It's about creating a business that not only supports our lifestyle, but also amplifies our impact and allows us to do the work we love.
It's about finding that sweet spot where passion, purpose, and profitability intersect.
This whole conversation has been incredibly inspiring as we wrap up this deep dive.
Yeah.
What are your final thoughts for creators who are ready to embrace this 4-hour workday philosophy and build a thriving business?
Remember, you have the power to design your workday and your business to truly align with your values and your goals. Embrace focus. Prioritize strategic rest, and consistently implement those principles we've discussed.
Okay.
The journey won't be without its challenges, but the rewards are well worth the effort.
I couldn't agree more. And to all of our listeners, I encourage you to take action. Experiment with these strategies and watch as you unlock new levels of productivity, creativity, and fulfillment in your work and life.
Love it.
If you found this deep dive insightful, be sure to subscribe for more.